Welcome to the final Dual Comm Party Chat of 2025. We're already here.
It's the final party chat.
This is the expansion of our longer form Dual Comm podcast that we have on BBKDragoon's channel. In this one, we mostly respond to your comments or general discourse around the topics that we had to kind of expand upon things. We got quite a few cool things to hit today.
We do. A lot of great comments, some replies to previous topics. And Epos, I think you got your wish. The Steam and PS5 replays did release in time. So I think we could probably do a single video dedicated just to that, probably.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, where should we start? I had a comment this last week on the Dual Commentary podcast that we just put out where we discussed some of our favorite segments from the last year. And one of the ones that you and I both talked about a bunch was this concept of orbiting the hobby, right? You watch gaming videos all day long in the background, or you're listening to it while you're doing work, and then by the time you actually get the chance to play a game, you maybe are a little fatigued because all you've done is listen to it. You've orbited that hobby, that habit. And we framed it kind of as like, well, that's negative, right? There's benefit to not orbiting the hobby all day long. But
right.
I want to highlight this comment from the Gunman channel, who says, I'm that orbiter you speak of, but for me, it only adds to the hobby. One thing I don't hear any YouTubers speak about is just how much there is to this hobby, meaning gaming. I can be driving to work listening to Persona 5 music, then listen to deep dives on the history of a specific console, a controller, etc. I can also hack many classic consoles to add games. I can make art. Me and my daughter made a ukulele song.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. I make classic Nintendo boxes. And recently I've been making canvas prints of game posters. Nerding out on getting the best picture out of consoles, finding the best cables, upscalers, or even CRTs. It's all part of the hobby. So yeah, my point is there's so much more to gaming than just playing games. It would be great to hear your guys' take on that in a future episode. Great comment, right?
Yeah. So I definitely think that's the other side of the orbiting coin that I also consider to be a good thing. I think we were more focused on the overindulgence in that play side. Because, yeah, I mean, when I think about how much I obsessed over games growing up, and we even talked about that in that episode. It's like we were, you'd be in school and you're still thinking about the builds you're going to run or sketching doodles from the game or whatever, reading magazines, watching behind the scenes clips. All of that, I at least wasn't trying to communicate as being a bad thing. A lot of our focus was on you're watching people play games, you're watching people, the discourse side, content, quote unquote content, where it's people talking about it, people playing it, people arguing about it, whatever. To me, the other ways to indulge in the hobby separate from the gameplay or discourse side of it is the positive side to engage with.
Yeah. I love that he gave the other side of the comment because growing up, G4 TV blew my mind. Back in the day, it was Tech TV, and they had a few shows that had video game content. They had X-Play, which did reviews and previews. They had the Machinima show, which I can't remember what it was called, where they would literally film like narrative fiction in EverQuest, and it was so like janky and early, and I loved it. I literally couldn't believe that existed.
Yeah.
They had an early esports show called Arena, which was kind of amazing.
Arena was sick.
Like people would compete and like I think they would play 4 games in a show, and Unreal Tournament was always one of them. And then there'd be like a fighting game or a racing game. And it was just, it was so cringe, but also amazing at the same time. And so, yeah, that's the entire reason I can't believe that YouTube is real to this day is there was this time as a kid where you didn't see any gameplay footage on anything other than the console you were playing. People weren't capturing stuff. Like we're super old. And yes, that transition occurred. And there were the few people who could get, what was it, Fraps or DX Tory or whatever, like way back in the day, right?
Yeah, both of them.
So there is like the really positive side to it, and I'm glad he highlighted that.
Yes.
And he's totally correct. Like I love listening to podcasts and stuff. I love like Wolf Den's podcast, the one he does with his brother.
Yeah.
Like, that's so much fun. If I've got a long drive and I just want to zone out and listen and hear their thoughts on stuff, it's so cool that there is infinite choice of basically any niche that you want out there. I think it's just good to remember, don't overdo it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, a lot of those things the Gunman channel mentioned, like I also do. Like some of my favorite music to listen to in the background while I'm working is video game soundtracks. I have a massive vinyl collection of video game soundtracks on vinyl and digital. I love doing art for it. My entire game room studio setup is covered in posters and toys and stuff from games. Like I am all in on that side. I find it like degrading to my experience to watch other people play all the time and to listen to people arguing about the details and stuff when you're just indulging in what is the enjoyable side for you, which is, as an example, getting the best settings out of scalers and whatever. Like that's like most of my hobby. So yeah, I definitely think we could have highlighted that, I guess, a little better in our discussion, because I do agree that those sides are the fun ones to get involved in. They also, to be fair, a lot of those require a more active role, so then you're not as orbiting. Like a lot of what we were, like the way you originally framed this when you started bringing it up, even in the original segment about it, is like while you're at work and while you're doing this. And obviously the soundtracks and stuff can apply to that. But broadly speaking, if you're making a song with your daughter, that's not overindulging on gaming while you're at work. That's just doing the hobby. Like that's perfect.
Yeah. I started reading the next comment, and I got hit with like such a fat wave of nostalgia.
Next comment.
Dragon Elf 01. Hi, BBK and Epos. Love both the podcasts and your regular content. Thank you.
No, he called me Epps. I am Omar Epps from House.
Oh, man. I used to mock House so much, but that show is so good. But I love those kind of dramas where it's like, here's the big twist, and then he figures it. I don't know. I love that stuff. Okay, I was wondering what you thought about games that were made for creation. The most recent one from a major company was Sony's Dreams game, but there's been others like Fighter Maker 2 on the PS2, Super Mario Maker 2, and the PC game called The Movies that was made by Lionhead Studios. Do you think we'll ever see these kinds of games pushed by the major companies and publishers in the future? And if they were, would you ever give one a try? Now, the reason the nostalgia hit is because he said that game, The Movies, totally owned that game, looked it up, saw the cover art, and remembered seeing this box on the family like PC cabinet, and like it just absolute total flood. Games on it's like an abandonware game, so apparently you can just like straight up find this online pretty easily. But that is weird, dude. Did you ever play that game or see it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have a big box copy still. I'll have to pull it out for a shot for the video edit if I do.
Lionhead is Fable.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did some really cool stuff.
Well, I'm definitely going to go and try and play that. I'm guessing it's not deck verified.
No.
But who knows?
It's more Windows XP verified. Now, I had not heard of Fighter Maker 2. I had to look that up. That was something I would have loved as a kid, because I was all about like the wrestling games, making your own wrestler and stuff. Like,
yeah,
I got to pick this up.
It's also on abandonware thingy here. Let's see. What do you do? Is it like a wrestling game?
It looks more like just a standard like 3D fighter brawler thing. You just get to make your own characters.
Sick. Well, I really like Super Mario Maker and Super Mario Maker 2, and I put a good amount of time into both of them. And I think you're pretty much guaranteed to see Super Mario Maker 3 come out of it. Dreams, I didn't really play or follow very much, but I remember hearing about it on some gaming podcasts and stuff. Did you play it at all?
No, I never really understood when the game came out. It felt like this thing that was like way hyped long before it came out, and everyone was like touting it as this big, like, this is going to be the next phase of people making games or whatever, and then it just kind of fizzled out pretty quickly. So I never played it. I have heard people say like really good things who were attached to it. I did want to I feel like some major exclusions here are like LittleBigPlanet and games like that, which had huge user-generated communities, and like there's been huge preservation efforts once the PS3 servers went offline to like preserve all of people's creations and stuff, so you can still get them on private servers and stuff, because that game was big for you being able to make your own levels and things like that.
I'm glad you brought up LittleBigPlanet because that's such a missed opportunity for Sony. I
For real.
loved LittleBigPlanet, man, and that already was Mario Maker. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine the budget to create one of those is very big, and it's just powered by UGC.
Yeah.
You build your 3 to 8 hour co-op fun campaign with your tools, and then it's always been such a miss that they nuked those online places because it has to just be kilobytes of storage, right?
Yeah.
It cannot be monstrous server bills that make it super in the red.
Right, because you're not uploading assets to it. You're just telling it where the bytes go, just like with Forge maps in Halo or whatever. You're not adding to it. So it has to be tiny. And yeah, that's another example of just give the kids a cool sandbox and they'll play in it and not spend $100 million trying to make something new. And I will say, Sackboy's Adventure, if you liked Astrobot, is a great precursor to Astrobot on the PS5. Actually, it's on PS4 as well. That's pretty cool. But give us the sandbox. Everyone's so averse to sandboxes now, and I think a big move away from them is purely because there's less to sell you when you have control to make your own things, and that's frustrating. But
I for both of us, what's close to home is obviously Halo Forge.
Yeah,
and one thing is there's a lot to talk about Infinite, but the Forge in Infinite is incredible. Visually, I think it's easy to write off, especially Halo 5 onward, Forge doesn't look very appealing. And again, yes, you can make stuff look really good in Infinite. I'm not speaking unilaterally here, but at least Infinite had such a sick Forge.
Yeah.
And rumor mill online, right, is next multiplayer thing preserves some of that UGC Forge work into whatever the next iteration of their multiplayer thing would be, which makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, I will say as a PS2 fanboy, I love the look of Halo 5 and Infinite's Forge.
Oh, you do? I thought you didn't like it.
No, I'm joking because I said as a PS2 fan.
Look, but you legitimately love PS2.
No, yeah, because it looks like PS2 games. But no, I think that's a huge I don't think a big part of Halo existed without Forge. And I mean, we see the number of Forge maps that got rolled out into matchmaking. I think Forge became a critical part of Halo. And I think with a lot of games, what I used to love about online games on the PC was the modding scene, the user-generated content scene. You go into a game, a new multiplayer game, and you give it 2 months, and you have Dust 2 and Shipment and Nuketown and Halo 3 Guardian or Hang 'em High or something. Everyone loves porting the maps to different games and building these cool custom experiences. I have so many fond memories of when I was in high school. For most of high school, we had DSL internet, which was super slow and unreliable. And so I would go to my mom's work after school, who worked at a college, and would take my external hard drive and just spend 2 hours downloading maps and mods off of halomaps.org to play Halo Custom Edition maps. And there was just such a huge library of on the OG Halo Custom Edition, custom maps, custom scripted campaigns, all of that stuff. I loved that kind of thing. And I've always been into ROM hacks. So Pokemon ROM hacks, there's a huge community that's been going on for 30 years of custom Pokemon games. I think that side of gaming will never go away. And I don't know how much we will see major companies supported it. We had already, I think I mentioned in a Dual Comm a month or two ago, right after Battlefield 6 came out, they started locking down some of the custom portal maps because people were porting Shipment and stuff to it, which again is kind of the first step of custom maps in a shooter is you get maps ported over from other games. But for whatever reason, this time around, they had a problem with it and started shutting them down. And I think even though it has never happened before, but I think between concerns about competition getting spicy about having maps from different games and other franchises or whatever, and it's harder to sell you content if you can make your own, I don't know if we'll see major publishers doing it. I definitely think there could be a dedicated studio to that kind of game that just makes the fun sandbox build your own adventure games. And I think they could be very successful if managed properly. But I think we're going to, at least for a while, continue to see that fade from the big AAA space in terms of the games that used to have it.
This is it doesn't really matter, but Microsoft got Activision Blizzard on 2023. Battlefield 2042 came out in 2021. I think Microsoft is pretty well known, right, for being quite aggressive about defending their IP.
Yeah.
Like even if it's like a cool project or whatever, it's just like the policy.
Yeah.
And so maybe it was preemptive on
That's
DICE or
scared.
EA's point to be like, okay, well let's not mess with the guys who own COD right now. Just don't make shipment or don't make a popular shipment map. You
That's
know.
fair. Also, I mean, Valve has always been very supportive of modding stuff. I mean, they integrated Workshop directly as a Steam feature for tons of games, and they incentivize games to implement that API. And then, like, Left 4 Dead was a massive bastion of, like, user mods and custom content and stuff. So,
I don't think we're going to see many corporate maker style games like Super RPG Maker and all those things, mainly because a lot of the tools are so accessible now. Like if you really do want a game like Dreams, I feel like is a good gateway for somebody who wants to go and then get Game Maker Studio or Unity. And start creating. I mean, I even started making a platformer in Game Maker Studio, and it was super fun.
I've started working on a Unity game. I'm specifically not going to say it out loud on the podcast because it's an idea that I think is so obvious that needs to be made, and I don't want to spoil it, but I will tell you off air.
No, that's exciting.
I am so excited.
That's Dual Comm dating sim RPG platformer runner.
With battle royale elements, mind you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, free to play, of course, and
wave-based horde mode that requires motion controls.
I don't have my Kinect anymore. I actually never had a Kinect, but whatever. All right, let's do the next comment here. You post.
Got a comment from Finite Singularity, my favorite OBS plugin developer, by the way. Made some cool, sick retro effects for me. Nice. He asked, how do you prioritize your games when you're genuinely excited to play a bunch of different games? And I totally didn't ask him to leave this comment. This is something I want your feedback on, BBK, because I'm currently really struggling with this. I have so many of these roguelikes on my Steam Deck that I'm dying to play basically all at the same time. I need to finish Digimon. And I just started. I picked up Warframe again this morning, trying to capture some footage. I still haven't finished Diablo 4. We talk a lot on this show about managing backlog guilt or picking strategies when you don't know what to play. How do you pick a game when you want to play all of them at once?
This is a very either perfect timing or horrible timing because I got a Steam Deck a week and a half ago. So I've played 20 different Steam games in the last 2 weeks. I also got sick, super sick, and I'm just coming out of it now. So it's a funny time because I'm literally shifting how I play games. I was a robot the last year and a half about like, I've got a ton of games I want to play and beat. And I like systematically just ripped through tons of them and hit credits very easily. And now I'm like, I don't know. I just want to play what's fun when it's fun. And I'm bouncing all over the place. But it is a great question. If you do have narrative games that you know you want to finish, I love like the system that worked well for me is doing a little research on howlongtobeat.com, getting a sense of the scale task that you're taking on. Is this a 10-hour game? Is this a 25-hour game? Is this a 40-hour game or more? And then I like to only play about one narrative game at a time. I think it's really hard if you're limited on game time, if you're like an adult gamer, it's really hard to juggle multiple games, and I find it pretty tough to just maintain enjoyment, like knowing where you are in the story, knowing the mechanics, all that stuff, if you've got 3 or 4 big story games happening at the same time. So for me, a lot of it comes down to just making that choice, right or wrong, and sticking with it. And you know, just going one at a time until you finish that game. That won't work for everybody, and I totally get that, and that's not really how I'm playing right now. But if you have, let's say, 5 games you're really interested in, it sounds stupid, just take a notepad, pen and paper, write it down, and put it in a list. What from like first to last do you want to play?
Put it in your notebook. This is wonderful advice. However, what do I do when the games I want to play have no end? Like the roguelikes.
See, that's where you're at
MMOs.
Right now with me. And I can tell you this, you just got to feel where you're at that day. Are you tired? If you're super tired, then like a crazy over-the-top intense, violent game is probably not going to match your vibe super well. I've been sick, and so I reinstalled No Man's Sky.
Ooh.
I played 3 hours of No Man's Sky last year. Wasn't super jamming with it, but you know what? I played 3 hours in the last like week, and it's perfect. As I've been sick, to just cruise the galaxy. Or Dave the Diver's been great, and I've been playing Vampire Survivors, like watching Community in the background. Yes, I know, like brain rotting and doing multiple things at once.
That's what you got to do when you're sick.
Yeah. But I'm also playing Just Cause. But right before you go to bed, I don't want to play a game where I'm like grapple shooting and blowing up things, and like that's too much. It's too much before bed. So I think there is some real benefit in feeling where you're at on that day, and then trying to pick a game that fits that mood, because all the different games have different flavors. You just said Warframe. Warframe is going to match that chill, easy vibe so well, right?
Yeah. Dude,
what do you think?
You mentioned No Man's Sky. Back in January when I was on I'm going to play all the PS5 things this year, I picked up No Man's Sky on the PS5, and I kind of regret it. I still have not played it, and I feel like it'd be a good chill deck game, so I might trade in or sell that copy and get it on Steam, because I really want to play it.
Yeah, I would recommend it. It's kind of out of my wheelhouse because it is sort of a survival game with some of the it's very open-ended. It's a space exploration game where you can build bases and discover stuff. And yeah, there's a story, and yeah, there's materials and crafting and all that stuff. But it's kind of what you make of it. But it's been so cool to play it on the deck, and then I'll come to the PC and capture some footage and see it, and it's glorious, beautiful stuff. But it works really well on the deck. Yeah. And it's a good before bed game, and it's also one of those games too where you can just sort of, I know I'm going back on what I said, but you can watch a show and play it at the same time.
Yeah. I know you said you're moving away from it, but I've always kind of envied your ability to just kind of lock in on a particular game. I don't know if it's my particular flavor of ADHD or what, but I'm so easily influenced to get excited to pick up another game. Right, you mentioned Lionhead when we were talking about the movies, and it's I haven't played Fable in so long, I kind of want to load up the Lost Chapters or Anniversary and give it a run. And it's no, I just said I had all these games I want to play.
Well, the Steam sale, we're recording this on the 17th, so the Steam sale for the winter is going to start tomorrow. No Man's Sky is already 60% off on Steam.
All right, I'm buying it.
I can tell you the vibes around that, it's overwhelmingly positive. In the recent reviews, and people are just super pumped on it.
Yeah, they've put out so much content. For a game that had such a horrible launch, they have redeemed it beyond what anyone could imagine without charging for any of the extra content. It also has a really sick photo mode. I followed a guy for a while who did a ton of cool photos from it, and I was taking screenshots and making cool posters from them and stuff. And I'm okay, I want to go take the pictures myself now.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a beautiful game. So for Singularity, back to his comment, I think you do two things. One, vibe check. How do you feel tonight?
Yeah.
And then release any pressure of a wrong choice. If you get any time to game, that's a win. If you are not feeling the game, just close it. Open up something else. And if you bounce all night, maybe it's a night to take a break from a game. If you're just bouncing from thing to thing and it's not landing, kind of like channel surfing, maybe you just, do something else. Try to watch a show, do something differently. Because I've also, with the deck, been playing Grand Theft Auto 4, because I like the New York City in that game is really cool. I don't like the Grand Theft Auto series that much, to be honest with you, but I love driving and flying in the sandbox, and the simulation they build is actually pretty compelling, even on the old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of times I'm opening it to drive around, and then I'll do a mission and be no, I don't need to go and take out that rival crew over it. Yeah, that's just not what I'm feeling. I just wanted to drive a car through the fake New York City, and so just close it and try something else.
Yeah. That's a really good point. That remove pressure to make the right choice. That's what I think I had mentioned on a past episode. For 2026, I'm really trying to restructure my schedule so one day a week I have a completely zero expectations, zero structure art day, where whatever medium is enticing, whatever it could be a project, or it could just be free range experimentation. I'm trying to introduce that back into my life, and the same rule can absolutely apply to gaming. So I need to remember that.
I'll add one deeper. There's a thought you'll never be able to get out of your head. If you are putting that pressure on yourself of a right or wrong choice, and you're oh, it's becoming unfun and it's so much overthinking, I think it's important to try and think back and remember, why do you play games in the first place? Why do you do this hobby? And what do you want this hobby to be in your life?
Yeah.
Because I've been in that zone thinking about it a lot. And this realization of we change and it's okay to change. It was good. Literally, when I dumped the multiplayer gaming 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I just started going through single player stuff, it was like drinking from a fire hose. It was so easy and seamless to just rip through Fallout 4 and New Vegas and Cyberpunk and Half-Life 2. I wasn't overthinking at the time. It was just like, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
But then I like felt sort of guilty. I was like, well, if I just play a bunch of stuff, I'm betraying my own system. I'm betraying myself. And it took until like the end of this year to realize, dude, bro, just, it's not that complicated. If it's fun, do it. If it's not that fun, take a break and do something else.
Yeah.
And stop putting this weird pressure on yourself, because it doesn't need to be there.
Very valid. Yes.
Alrighty, M4 Productions, Epos, and BBK. I don't know if you guys have reached UNC status or not, but regardless, I'm a young man seeking relationship advice. By the way, if you want to know if I'm UNC status, I don't even know. That's Zoomer stuff, right? Does that mean you're old, Epos?
I assumed it meant like.
An
I
uncle?
guess I took it too literally, because I was just like,
No,
I assumed it meant you're an
is
uncle.
A Zoom word. Gen Z slang. Yeah, we're old, bro. If that's
Unc status.
here's why Gen Z is calling you Unc. parent.
Yeah, okay. Being
Yeah,
old, out
if you're
of
born
touch,
in the 90s, you're Unc.
embodying uncle vibes, often humorously.
Okay,
yeah,
back to the comment.
We're boomers. We're
How
old.
would you recommend I get my wife to play video games when she's terrible at them, but has the spirit to play them? What games would you try introducing where she can build the gamer fundamentals? It's oddly difficult to teach a gaming noob the ropes. Save my marriage. Epos. Well, first of all, M4, that was great, but Epos, you take it away.
Well, I am privileged enough to not be in that position, because my wife has tended to be a much more hardcore gamer than I am, until at least the past couple of years. My community manager's gone through a similar thing, however, with his partner, and a big gateway game for them has been the Larian Studios, the Baldur's Gates, the Divinities, those kinds of games, because you can play them together. You can play them at your own pace. They're turn-based, so Baldur's Gate even has like an explorer mode, so if you suck, like, you can play that and you still get the full experience, and you still have to do the combat, but it's just easier. The RNG is a little more forgiving. And so I'd say find the more, I mean, obviously you have to cater whatever you're going to play to your all's mutual interests in terms of genre or themes or whatever. But I personally, just in a vacuum, would be targeting, I mean, kind of like what I'm playing with my kid, like the games that I think he can grasp or we can otherwise trade off. So like one of his first non-Minecraft games was Paper Mario on the Switch. And that's a single player game, but it's something that we can play together. He can take his turns like there were some nights where we would have game night and he would just take the controller. We honestly wouldn't. We would just save scum afterwards most of the time and not tell him. But like we'd let him just wander around the map hammering Goombas and doing whatever, and there's zero consequences. And then he'd try his hand at the combat sometimes and whatever, and then just trade off. And like right now, I honestly don't know that I could play Horizon Zero Dawn very well, because I've only played a couple of combat encounters. My wife's been the one playing it because it was just her turn to play. And so you still get the experience. You can still share in the decision making, but you divide up the time or have someone else take over, and it kind of builds that interest. Similarly, like my kiddos watched me play a ton of different games and then wanted to, I mean, that's how I discovered Minecraft in the first place, but also Haste, the game we talked about a bunch over the summer. I have cell phone footage of him playing that after watching me, and like he kept running into stuff sometimes, but it was fine. Like he was just interested in it. So obviously there's a little bit more of a mechanical desire to do better as you're talking about a partner versus a kid, but I think the same strategies of finding those easier and more casual experiences to start, to especially if you're literally trying to teach them the fundamentals, or just games that you can trade off or watch each other. And I think that's the play personally.
I have 3 game recommendations that I think are phenomenal for this. Unravel 2 does not get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But Unravel 2 is, I cannot think of a better game for somebody new mechanically to gaming. It's a platformer, and you both play as little yarn characters, and you're tethered together with the yarn,
Yeah.
or you can tether together. And what's wonderful about it is, yes, you have to work together through the whole game to beat it. I think it's one of the best platformers ever. I recommend it out the wazoo. It's beautiful. The music is great. It's not very long. And if there is a frustrating section, guess what? There's a button where the other character can morph onto you because you're yarn, and it's great. And you can literally take them through the hard section. So if there's something that's frustrating that you're having trouble getting through together, the other person can just be like, all right, dude, carry me through this. Literally carry me through this. And super, super good first game, I feel like. It does have challenge, for sure, but it's definitely doable by somebody who's new. Life is Strange is a really great one of those kind of Telltale style story games, which can introduce, movement. And I think with new players, one of the hardest things is twin stick stuff. Like for controller players, you and I grew up obviously on controller and earned our licks or whatever playing early FPS stuff. And so it's natural for us. But every time like a family member tries something that requires like two sticks, it's savage. So I think a Life is Strange is a good place to do that low pressure. And then if they're decent, I feel like some Halo co-op is pretty fun. Like Halo 3, getting in a vehicle together. Like if they like that kind of game. I think the most important thing is finding a game that both of you can jam on and enjoy. Because if the other person isn't stoked on the setting or the narrative or any of that stuff, they're not going to want to stick with the frustration or see the point of getting through it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Actually, that reminded me of a couple of recommendations as well. Lego Voyagers, I just played through this summer with my kiddo.
That game looks sick.
Great, easy controls, but still fun. Like, it's still fun for adults, but it's a mandatory, like, two-person co-op game. And then the Unraveled feature reminded me of, it's not something I have fun with, but the newer classic-style Mario games, the, like, Super Mario Bros., I don't know what they're called, Super Mario World, Switch,
the
Wii U
new
edition,
Super Mario Bros. Deluxe,
whatever that's called. It has that feature where your character can, especially if you have difficulty sliders as character choices, and then you have the ability to just go into a bubble and float at the other person. And so like my kiddo could just go into a bubble and float and follow us if he gets frustrated with the controls. And even if they run out of lives, like you can still keep going. I personally found it way too chaotic. We tried having all three of us play at the same time and keeping up on screen and whatever. Like, it was a nightmare. I personally don't like it, but I know a lot of families do. So that is an option.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder and then Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, if you've got a Switch. Both of those are like some of the best platformers ever made. And Tropical Freeze has the Funky Kong mode where you literally surf, and so you can't really die. It's pretty fun and low pressure.
Yeah.
So. Oh, that was a funny comment. That was
I like
just how straightforward it was. Terrible at them, but she's got the spirit to play. So thank you, M4.
I love that so much.
What's our next comment?
Patty Longlegs. I just want to say I really appreciate the topics you guys choose. You hit all the things I think about, but never seem to be discussed in the mainstream. I recently went back into Emulation as I can't afford new prices anymore. I work full-time in a decent job. Can't imagine what it's like for younger gamers. Playing old games on my Steam Deck is a new joy I look forward to at the end of the night. No internet discourse around them. No sunk cost fallacy. I'm definitely getting Nintendo sued now. Just pure joy. It even helped me sleep better despite the blue light. I think because it puts me in such a state of relaxation. Keep up the great vids, boys.
That's a nice comment. Thank you. Do you emulate on your deck, by the way? Egos?
I haven't
tried any of that.
Anything as ridiculous as this is going to sound, as like the Linux advocate and whatever, because I only want to use my Steam Deck in handheld mode, anything that is like a plugin you have to install in desktop mode, I pretty much just never prioritize because it's kind of a pain in the butt. I don't know if I've just had bad luck or whatever, but even using like the Decky plugins and stuff, anytime I tried to use those, it would stop, like it would just break things and stop games from working properly. And then I remember there was like 6 months where I didn't use my deck because I was just waiting to go back into desktop mode and uninstall it. So like at some point I had set up Emu Deck and had all the emulators going, and I had like a Pokemon Crystal save on there. I haven't updated it in over a year, so I don't. But I was just making a video about session games on the Steam Deck, and it got me thinking, as much as I am hardcore about playing certain games on the PS2, I do think at this point in my life I would get more playtime in on them if I could play them on my deck. Like my favorite games of Gauntlet Dark Legacy, Champions of Norrath, those kinds of dungeon crawler games. And so it was actually something I was going to do over the winter break here, is set up PCSX2 again so I could play Gauntlet and Champions of Norrath and stuff where I have the quick sleep and resume feature. Because I am in the same boat as Patty Longlegs here. As long as I play the right game, it absolutely relaxes me before bed to be out. Like, I will literally lay in bed, pull up my Steam Deck on lowest brightness with no volume, and just play for like 10 or 20 minutes. And it helps me sleep so easily, and it's so much better than like doom scrolling on your phone and activating your brain.
I want to do PCSX2 because playing SSX3 or SSX Tricky on the deck sounds super fun. I'm kind of in the zone right now because I'm a new deck person that I'm just like going back and rediscovering a lot of Steam games that maybe didn't vibe on the PC that now I'm like, oh, this is quite compelling and very fun here. But we're living in a pretty insanely good time for gaming. I think I made a video this last week about some of the stuff I learned with gaming this last year, and I really think where you play doesn't matter all that much. It's a lot of a mindset thing. Like, you can get pretty stoked on just about anything you've got right now and find ways to enjoy it. If you immerse yourself in it, you kind of commit to it and you like make it fun. I know a lot of it's a mindset thing, but it's pretty easy to get hyped on something. Like, you can look at a PS4, and a few months ago you got super hyped on the PS4, and I know you're still hyped on it. And similarly, like, if you just immerse yourself in PS2 stuff, it's like, well, this is amazing. What a cool ecosystem. And there's so many great games here. And you could go back and do that with Game Boy. And it's pretty amazing these days how many opportunities there are to, I don't know, gaming's pretty great right now if you are intentional and know where to look.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like, I would be emulating if I didn't have so many games to play. Like, my struggle with prioritizing emulation is I have the physical copies and I have so many cool games I want to play on my Steam Deck that it just sinks to the bottom of priorities. But like, if that's what you have, like, emulation on the Steam Deck is such a wonderful way to play. And PS2 games, obviously the handheld games, like even GameCube games, like they all just run so smoothly. Like, it is a wonderful time. And yeah, you're right. Like, there's so much gaming potential. There's so many unique ways to play, as we have covered on the episodes. And that was one of my a combination favorite segment on our 1 year anniversary Dual Comm episode, is like watching you go through all these unique ways to play games and discovering which is your favorite was such a cool experience, because it was like it really just changes the way you think about it and allows you to have more fun. There are so many things that I pick up to play and then don't touch them, and then I find a unique way to approach them, and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Why didn't I play this? And like, I love that about games. With movies, like, they can hit different at different parts of your life, but ultimately, like, you got to sit down and watch the movie, and that's all there is. Like, for us, as M4 Productions called us, for those in Unk status mode, there are some movies that were better in the drive-in than like a theater. But we don't really have those much these days.
No.
But like,
oh, man,
with a lot of mediums, there's only one real way to consume it that really works. Whereas with games, like, there's so many different ways to flavor how you play it that there's so many ways to have a good time right now.
Yeah. And not just deck, but there's limitless little Android handhelds now that are super affordable.
Yeah.
You got the Ein Thor, the super cool 3DS thing. The Switch, honestly, I'm so blown away at how ahead of the curve the Switch was.
Yeah.
And how much fun I got out of that thing. It really is, I think, my favorite platform since 2017. It is really cool how many different ways you can play these days. And yeah, I'm kind of, I see this future where handheld is such an important part of all platform ecosystems, I think, moving forward. Like, handheld it's making this comeback. Like, we always had the handheld skew, right, with the Game Boy era through PSP and the Vita, and then it kind of went away. Now we're getting it back again, and it's very cool. There's a lot of cool stuff with gaming. So,
you know what I think's fascinating about that?
What?
I think handheld gaming died off because we spent 10, 15, maybe 20 years building towards this promise that basically our phones would replace everything, that we didn't need purpose-built devices anymore. And we all kind of collectively imagine this future in which everything just kind of converged into one piece of tech and we didn't need those things anymore. And that didn't happen. Like, yeah, there are plenty of people who play emulated games on their phones or have the backbones and do streaming or whatever, but it didn't become a replacement for the people who are like serious gamers. It didn't even become mainstream. Like, most mobile games are not video games. They're just clickers or gotchas or whatever. Like, I think that was one area where we were building towards a specific tech innovation that was expected to replace tools that we had before, and it failed. And so now handhelds are coming back because we want that portability and kind of ownership over our gaming experience away from everything else, and the phones didn't provide that. And so now we're having to build the purpose-built thing again. And I think that's really cool. Like, I feel like in the long run, we're going to see this as a lesson about the viability of product stacks or something.
I feel like I don't have much to add because I don't like mobile gaming and I don't have much experience with it beyond like Fruit Ninja and Clash of Clans. And what is the Clash of Clans where it's like that battler? It's like a little
the one with all the like
whatever.
wrestlers promoting it and stuff.
Yeah,
I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, but I mean, my list of mobile games is like less than 10. Cube Runner, like I have Unk status for sure. And then it just felt like everything was stupid slop. There was a commercial the other day for some mobile game, and in the commercial, the actors are like, wow, there's no ads. They should have seen an ad by now playing the game. And that was like a selling point of the game, is it wasn't interrupting you with ads. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm glad this is not my area. But I can definitely say, like, at least browsing YouTube, there's a huge resurgence of people wanting purpose-built devices for a purpose-built task that isn't hooked into attention economy.
Yeah. I think there's something so unique with that. And I mean, I'm the same way about actual mobile games. I was someone who wanted, since everything moved to phones, I was like, because my iPhone has the same processor that's in my iPad, that's in the same processor that's in like Mac Minis. Like, it has power to do real games, but there's so few of them. Like, for like 6 months, I could play Apex Legends on my iPad, and it was sick. I played Star Wars Hunters, and it was sick. It was like a little hero shooter. Then Diablo Immortal. There's all the controversy around the monetization and stuff, but like in terms of gameplay, I was playing Diablo. Great. And then there was the Platinum Games World of Demons, which is a full-fledged story samurai game. Awesome. But those are the exceptions rather than the rule. And I waited so long. I tried to remain an optimist for so long, holding out that we would have that. I bought 6 different mobile controllers trying to commit to this experience because I thought we would get real games that were worth playing on the phone that were like PSP games. Because like Apple pushed Resident Evil and something else on iPhone, Assassin's Creed. And it's like, I don't want a 100 gigabyte game on my phone that I can't easily pick up and put down, because those are big, long, you gotta be focused for that. That's not optimized for phone. I was imagining the PSP style games, the PS Vita style games, the Game Boy style games, where it's made to be small and portable, and we never got that, and the ones we got quickly went away. And I have always been disappointed in that, because the category of mobile games is a crapshoot. I think it's fascinating that there is a device that nearly every human being has in their pocket capable of gaming, and it failed to turn into an actual gaming platform to the extent that we're now buying $2, $3, $4, $6, $1,200 devices to supplement that.
But I'll play the other side of it. I think it succeeded massively for casual people, right? I don't think it captured. We're gamers, we're enthusiast gamers, whatever the marketing term would be. It captured some of our market, but not a lot of it. But think how many parents and grandparents like play Candy Crush, or what was the one on Facebook? Farmville, Farmland, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably expanded the audience of gamers bajillion fold, right? You can go, there's probably stats and stuff we should look up for that. But no, for enthusiast people like you and me, it didn't move me off I don't really want to, I don't have any interest in that. But I mean, for like people who've never engaged with it. I bet there's a ton of people who have tried Bejeweled or whatever. I don't know, man. I'm so unk talking about this. I'm using the unk thing now. I'm gonna
Let's hit the next comment, I guess.
Mike Soul 1. Hey, Dragoon and Epos. I ordered a refurbished PS3 Slim from eBay, and I also got a physical copy of Skate 1, Skate 2, Skate 3, and Skate It for the DS. I currently have my PS5 Slim to play both PS4 and PS5 games, but I am so stoked to finally be able to have a system to play the original Skate games. I respect your recommendation on the PS4, but I do wish it had backwards compatibility, us too. Otherwise, I would have just gotten a PS4. I was considering the older fat PS3 with PS1 and PS2 backwards compat, but it was a lot more expensive, and really I just want to play the EA Skate games. Great comment. Also, enjoy that PS3. It's going to be amazing. Also, Skate 1 and Skate 2 are so good. I never really played much Skate 3. I heard it's great too. But wow, how much fun, dude.
Yeah. I mean, the PS4 and 5 not having PS3 backwards compatibility has been like a big bummer. There are so many games locked to the PS3 that we have not gotten. And so I wish I could
cell processor.
Yeah, I wish that recommendation for like a PS4 could come with that backwards compatibility caveat, but that's just the PS3 is also super cheap now. Obviously not if you get a fat one because those have to be specially cared for and whatever. But if you get a non-backwards compatible one, which is still able to play PS1 games, by the way, just not PS2, you can still get them for like $100. Great investment for those games, and it's still a great experience. You get HD output, you get wonderful controller, you get tons of cool system features. Like, by all means, I think a PS3 and a PS4 together could last you a lifetime of gaming. I am ashamed to admit I have literally never touched a single skate game. And I used to play a ton of Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but I honestly I didn't even really hear of Skate until like the late Xbox 360 days, where I guess everyone was probably playing Skate 3. And by that point, I was so into Halo and Call of Duty that I wasn't like picking up anything else.
They're just really good games with a unique control system. It was the first. I don't know. Well,
do they play like Tony Hawk's, or is it like a different style?
No, it's more realistic, and so it's very Sony VFX is following you with the fisheye, just like you would see in the good classic skate videos. So the camera they nailed. And then all of the movement is based on the right analog stick, and they mimic, you skated, so you know, they mimic actual actions. So if you pull the right stick down, then flick it straight up, you'll do an ollie. If you do it up and to the right, you'll do a heel flip if you're regular. If you do it up and to the left, you'll do a kick flip. And a lot of the movements for like shovettes and stuff kind of feel like or emulate the movement of what your feet would do. It's not as like detailed as some of the new skate sim stuff that people have been putting out on Steam. But it was so much fun because literally just doing like a freaking board slide down a small stair set was so much fun. And the campaigns were good. They were really unique and fun, and the music was great. And I'm going to say something here. I know Skate 3's on Game Pass, and I've played it on Game Pass a few times on the Xbox. But it's been oddly quiet. Like there's a bunch of music missing, I think. And I believe they actually removed a bunch of licensed music from it. And I just discovered this. I've been playing, like I said, Grand Theft Auto 4 on the deck. There is a mod called Fusion Fix, which is incredible. And anybody playing GTA 4 on PC should put it on because it restores all of the console effects that were broken and that Rockstar never bothered fixing. Basically the entire lighting and reflections and all that stuff. But because of licensing issues, they stripped 50 songs out of all the radio stations in the game. And I just am like, oh, that physical ownership wins right there. So maybe I'm wrong on the Skate 3 thing, but you're getting the full package there with those disc copies and the cell processor, dude. The PS3 had the cell processor, which apparently was punched way above its weight for a long time and was considered super powerful, but the only caveat was nobody really knew how to get the power out of it because it was such a unique architecture, right?
Yeah, it seems like because like a lot of that was a little overblown because there's been some devs that have come out and been like, yeah, it was more complicated, but when we sat down and did it, we figured it out. But yeah, it was, at least for the cross-platform games, harder to quickly optimize for with, I guess, the expected level of kind of rushing around and doing it. But you could get some beautiful, beautiful visuals out of it, as we saw with the God of War games. Ascension on there actually got a resolution decrease from God of War 3, because God of War 3, depending on which copy you have, weirdly enough, was like the 1080p showpiece for the PS3. But then Ascension, which came after it, it's a prequel, it got some visual engine improvements, but got dropped to 720p as a result. There was some funky scalar stuff in the PS3, but the games that really took advantage of it on there, the God of Wars, the Killzones, the MGS4, like, you got incredible results out of it. It is a great console to have. It is a powerhouse. And it was kind of the last one where we got a unique console design.
And I don't think he's super missed out by not getting the fat PS3. Because there's so many great PS2 games that have HD collections for PS3.
Yeah,
so, awesome.
I agree. Skate sounds amazing, by the way, so I might pick it up. I weirdly made the connection. To me, it made the difference sound like Tony Hawk Pro Skater is Tekken and Skate is Street Fighter. Like, instead of just
reverse it. I feel like Tekken's got like, here's the 250 move list character sheet, and it's a little like slower and weightier, heavier. And Street Fighter, you've got a roadmap for like most of the things.
I see. I could never wrap my head around the like stick turning thing in Street Fighter, and you talking about the gestures reminded me of that.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense too. I can't like, I am a bad Tekken player. Street Fighter, I think I've got like 500 hours in that thing. I think I told you I got to platinum with Canon SF6 finally, but like Tekken, dude.
See, I grew up with my mom
is leaving.
I know.
Namco.
I know.
The father of Tekken. Where's he going? Is this the end of Tekken?
It won't be, but it might be the end of it being what it was.
I've heard Tekken 8's pretty mixed reception so far.
I feel like a lot of Bandai Namco franchises are getting kind of the short end of the stick lately. I'm kind of worried about them.
Yeah. Our next comment, Epos, what is it?
Oper Overlord or Opier Overlord. I'm not sure. What's y'all's take on being able to give an opinion on a game? Oh, yeah, I wanted to include this based on a previous discussion. What's your take on being able to give an opinion on a game if you just wanted to watch someone stream it, or if you just watch someone stream it or watch clips of it? Seems like you can give an opinion on all the game except the controls. So we have touched on this before, but the way that was phrased, I really wanted to have us talk about.
I think you're more than capable to talk about. Does it look fun? Does it look like it's your vibe? Does it look like it's your jam? Totally. But there is that element of like, you don't necessarily know how it feels till you play it.
Yeah.
That is the one unique characteristic of the game where I think we, on a previous Dual Comm, basically said, no, we had a comment on a previous party chat maybe where it was like, dude, Astrobot is so freaking sick, and I had no idea just watching BBK's footage. I played it at a kiosk, and it felt so different, and now I really like it. But just from seeing it, I didn't get those vibes.
Yeah.
We've mentioned that before. There's tons of games that look stupid, and then I've played it, and I'm like, wow, that feels great. That's awesome. They did a great job with the controls there. So I think, I mean, my answer is you can obviously give an opinion on anything. I'm just not going to like give full judgment on something until I've played it myself and tried it, because there are games that have looked super cool, and I played it, and I didn't love the way it felt, and then vice versa. Games that, you know, felt amazing, didn't look that cool, and it's like, oh, you gotta, okay, Pseudo Regalia. A bunch of people are probably gonna like look at a indie lo-fi old poly style game like that and go, I don't know. But the movement tech, bro, moving in that game is so satisfying, and it feels fantastic, and that doesn't translate really to the way it looks.
I think it's easy to think you can form some sort of informed opinion on a game by consuming someone else playing it until you've actually played it. Like, it's easy to think that you have the gist, but it's so easy to overlook everything, because even down to the parts you can see, like it's not just the controls is a vast oversimplification. Like you just said, how it actually feels to play is such a deep. I mean, that is everything with a video game. That is such a deep relationship with it, and it's not just the control scheme. It's how fluid it feels. It's how responsive it feels. It's how the controls relate to the gaming experience. There's so much to that. Like the difference between Skate and Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Like if you're just watching it, it's like, okay, you just press slightly different buttons for that. But the answer is going to be no. It plays entirely different in a way that you won't know until you're playing it. Same thing with like God of War 2018 versus the older God of War games. I've had a lot of people be like, the combat is pretty similar in the long run. And it's not. The way you control it with the tank controls is entirely different. And yeah, it might look similar because you're just hacking and slashing, but the end result as a gaming experience is entirely different. And then even down to like the sound and the visuals, all of that is completely still filtered through a stream or a video. I think back to, there was a game released, I want to say 2016, 2018 era. I guess I could look it up, but it doesn't really matter. A Rambo game. And I remember it was immediately everyone was just dunking on it because in the trailer, the visuals made it look like a PS2 game. Like it looked horrible. Nothing was compressing well. But it was actually just the compression. The graphics were not amazing, but they were fine. Like they were actually fine. But everyone was like, this game looks like it's 20 years old. Why is it coming out looking like this? Not in a retro lo-fi way, but in a just like really sloppily made way. And it was purely just skewed by some bad compression on the render of the video. And same thing, like there's a game, you always talked about, what was it, Immortals? The game that had like so much visual feedback that like was a little too much.
Oh, yeah. The UE5 game. Is that what it was called? Immortals of
Yeah,
Avium?
I think so. That kind of thing, you're not really going to get a feel for when you're watching either, because the thing with playing a game is you are not just pressing the controls. You are making decisions on the fly. And that is a whole different way to operate than just passively consuming it. And so I think you can have, like BBK said, you can have an opinion on if you think it looks fun or up your alley or whatever. But I stand by what I said before of like, if you haven't played a game, you haven't played it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to do more, and you've been good about this. I struggle with it. You typically are pretty guarded with what you say on like criticism if you haven't like engaged with it yourself. Yeah. Rather than echoing secondhand stuff or article headlines and things like that. And I've always appreciated that kind of discipline. And I'm trying to do more of that in just about everything, you know? And I find myself like films that I like, I'm usually in conflict a lot of times with what like Rotten Tomatoes will say, you know? And it's such a subjective, personal thing that the stuff that I like and why I like it is going to be different than everybody else. Yeah. And that's perfect. You know what I mean?
And feelings aren't static or in a vacuum. Like, especially with movies. There are so many movies I watch with my wife where, like, I had a really good time. I really enjoyed it. But the more it sits with me, or the more I poke at it at least, the more criticisms or critiques I have. Like, I think for my birthday this year, my wife and I went and watched Superman in theaters. And, like...
Yes. Yeah.
Overall, it was everything I could have asked for. It was a darn good time. It was a blast. I came out of that theater super stoked. But as I like really poked at the things about it, I'm not going to talk about them on the show, I had a lot of critiques. I had a lot of complaints. That didn't stop me from enjoying the movie or recommending it, or I'm probably going to pick it up on a 4K Blu-ray at some point and watch it again. Like, it was still amazing, but like, I'm going to develop a more deep opinion as it sits with me, and I'm going to develop that more as I watch it again. And same thing with games. Like, the more time you spend with it actually making the decisions involved in it, the deeper your opinion gets. Whereas if you're just watching someone else, and it's like, yeah, that looks fun. Man, that story was all right. And like, as much as you give me the gas for how much I try to not at least express outwardly a whole lot of critiques on things that I haven't consumed myself, I am the person that can make very quick snap judgments about what I think I might enjoy or might not enjoy based on just seeing it. Like, you give me 3 minutes of mostly unfiltered gameplay that highlights everything that the game is going to be about.
Yeah.
And I will decide whether I will enjoy it or not.
Yeah. I think, and that's the distinction. I don't think we're saying the two are in conflict with one another. I think we're just saying like, hey, there's some games that feel totally different than they look. But yeah, I mean, we've done this long enough. You can watch, like you said, the Game Awards and go like, that trailer, not for me. I'm not interested.
And the application that we were applying the original discussion about that to was with regards to discourse. Like, there's a difference between me being like, I'm trying to think of an example, but like a game that everyone's excited for that I'm like, I really don't think I'm going to enjoy that. And hopping onto Twitter or responding to everyone who mentions that they're excited for it and being like, no, actually, this game sucks when I haven't played it. I just know that it's not going to be for me. And that might change if I play it, but I'm still allowed to make that decision in the meantime.
Yeah, 100%. I think we just used to be better about like caring less what the internet comments said.
Yeah.
Now they're just front and center and they are like
Yeah.
the focus. And yeah, we've talked about that before. But I think this plays well into the next comment from Cody Selby 2803. It would be fun to hear more of what genres or things in general you guys wish you liked. I used to always have the thought, man, I wish I loved roguelikes or platformers, etc., but they don't usually stick around for long. Being intentional helped me put that thought in perspective, that if I loved those genres, I might not have my own favorites like JRPGs and shooters. Now I'm just happy liking whatever most grabs me. You guys already talked about Metroidvanias for this topic. This is on our last Dual Comm episode, with Epos mentioning classic Vanias. Anyway, just thought it would be cool to hear. Thanks for all the amazing work you guys do. So much fun to listen to. Thank you, Cody. Epos, take it away. What's a genre that you wish you liked more or played more?
Honestly, most of them. Like, not most of them in general, but like, I mean, I wish I could grasp RTSs better. Weirdly, I remember I put a ton of time into Command & Conquer Red Alert on the PS1 because I had it.
Nice.
But I don't know how I played it because anytime I've tried to play an RTS since then, it has broken my brain. I never really made it far with StarCraft. I wanted to play Halo Wars and like just could never really sit with it. The closest I came to doing so was, I guess, Warcraft. And that's not the same. It's not the same kind of RTS as like real RTS. But I loved Warcraft 3. But beyond that, I mean, I wish I had an appreciation for the Telltale games. I've just never really sat down with them enough because of my apprehensions about them. But I wish I had appreciated JRPGs sooner. I had a long time where I couldn't really convince myself to play them. I think I was just kind of skewed by bad experiences with Final Fantasy, even though I grew up with Pokemon, which is as hardcore a JRPG, at least the older ones, as it really gets. For me, it's kind of like with music or movies or whatever. Like, I can appreciate something in just about any genre as long as I'm in the right headspace and it hits me at the right time.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't have much experience with city and settlement builders.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience with grand strategy or 4X games. Never really played any dating sims. And survival games I'm not that into. Everything else, I'm looking at the Steam categories right here. And visual novels. I've never played really any of those either. I guess I played a little bit of the Ace Attorney games, which are cool-ish. I like them.
Okay, I have one that I have huge, like, I guess FOMO for. Card games. I grew up playing the Pokemon TCG and Generation 1 Yu-Gi-Oh! And frankly, I sucked at that, but like I at least had a grasp on the mechanics. So the original run of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, not any of the spin-offs. But once it got to the spin-offs and they added all these extra mechanics, I could just never keep up. Like it just, and I struggled to strategize well, even in the classic days. And I have my buddy who I quote, who's like a strategy mastermind, who I always reference as beating me in like any game. But we used to have this thing where I was super proud of whatever Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck I'd built. And he would be like, all right, throw your extra cards in the floor. I'll pick 60 of them and duel you. And he'd still always beat me because he can just put these strategies together in his head. And so he's gone on to play Magic and Slay the Spire and all this other stuff. And like anything with cards, I'm immediately nope, I cannot do deck builders. Now, I have appreciated those elements, like I said, in the right headspace and time. I got hooked on Balatro forever. I have no clue how to play poker. I did not understand it. I'm having to look up every hand in that game as it comes because I have no clue what's happening. But then I put hundreds of hours into Balatro and loved it. And then there was the game Marvel Midnight Suns that I talk about all the time that I explicitly avoided because it had deck building elements. But then it was explained to me like they're really just substituted for abilities and it's fine, and I came to love it. I wish I had more of a mind for strategy for those kinds of games because they seem like they have such a deep, rich experience to provide, but I just don't.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've been debating Slay the Spire, but I always feel like with card games, I feel like if I don't have knowledge of all of the cards that exist, how
Yeah.
can I make strategic decisions? And then that feels like a pretty big barrier for me. I played a ton of Hearthstone. I was super stoked. I got a beta key when it was in beta, and I really, really liked the first year of Hearthstone. I played a lot of it. But as soon as they started adding the more and more decks and cards and people and stuff, I'm like, I don't feel like I can compete anymore because
Yeah.
I don't know. I like having even starts, and I think the thing with deck builders is a lot of it is the choice of what you're bringing into that experience, right? The deck you've built, and I'm just I'm a strategic idiot. That's why
Yeah.
I keep pausing on Armored Core 6. The whole point is like they're Legos. You pick different builds, and some builds trivialize the level and the bosses, and other builds struggle. And I just hate trial and error. I'm
Yeah.
like such a dum-dum about that. So I'm like, well, I don't want to look up the build.
Yeah.
So it's
No.
that's a good question, though.
I'm similar. I've always been more of I want to improve my mechanical skill, not my strategy skill. So like with shooters, like I would get really good at the mechanical play, not necessarily map knowledge or positioning. I want to be able to just run around and outshoot everybody rather than sit in the right spot to have the upper hand or whatever.
Yeah. I've always loved even starts for that reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think about I really love, there's a couple channels, like I think one's called Temp6T, that do these super competitive Pokemon Showdown videos, and they do all these like gimmick builds and just post videos because people rage in the text chat or whatever at the goofy builds and they end up winning, and like it's a really fun thing to watch. But competitive Pokemon is basically a card game. Like I cannot wrap my head around it because there's 400 Pokemon on a million combinations of moves and abilities and whatever. And I just can't keep that in my head to form like a strategy that makes any sense. And these dudes are like, well, if I use this one level 1 Pokemon and use this one ability, I can keep it alive forever against all your level 100s and pull out this trap card and blah, blah. And I'm just like, bro, I just equip powerful moves and move along.
We're too unk, bro. We're not ready for that. But that was I liked that comment a lot. What's our next one?
Jonathan Lawrence, 5043. Congrats on 1 year, guys. In 2026, I'm planning to do most of my gaming through emulation. Dropped Game Pass after the price hike, and honestly, there are a ton of games I missed growing up in the PS2 GameCube era. Now that I'm a 28-year-old dad of 2, wow, making me feel old. I already have 2 kids, and I'm much older than that. Anyway, I'm also leaning towards session game stuff. Yes, stuff I can jump into for 15, 20 minutes at a time. My question for you both is this. Have you played any of the Xenoblade Chronicle games? XB1 is my favorite game of all time, and I believe it can rival any other JRPG when it comes to scope, characters, and plot. I especially think Dragoon would enjoy it, knowing how invested he was into Final Fantasy VII remakes this year. Plus, you can always emulate it on the Steam Deck. Thanks for all the entertaining and thought-provoking conversations I've been able to listen to at work all over the last year. Keep up the good work.
Nice. Have you, Epos?
I've never played Xenoblade. I know very little about it other than it was like, by time I'd heard about it, it was one of these super limited games to get on Nintendo hardware, which kind of burned me on the idea in the first place.
They're amazing. So to answer the question, I've played and beaten Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. I've not played X. X is a kind of different game, but yes, 1, 2, and 3, and Future Redeemed, and the Torna, and so I've done all 3 and the DLC except for Xenoblade 3's DLC. They're amazing.
Am I thinking of Xenogears? Is that a different game?
Different game. I think it's still Monolith Soft people.
Okay.
But yeah.
I don't know which one I have actually been like
You've probably
to.
seen Xenogears.
Okay.
Like you're thinking of the PlayStation artwork.
Yeah.
You can picture the box art for sure. Xenoblade Chronicles, Wii, and I think it was one of those games, don't hold me to it, but I believe they, like here in the West, it didn't get imported for a long time, but then it did, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Then they put it on the 3DS. Then Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out on the Switch. It's insane and it's amazing. Then they did a rebuild, remake, whatever, for remaster, I don't know, for Xenoblade 1 that they put on the Switch, and then Xenoblade 3 came out a few years ago. I've gone through all of them. They're all like 70, 80-hour games. They're JRPGs. Woo! The story's insane. they're amazing. And what I will say is, like, Jonathan is completely correct, by the way. These are some of the only games I think that nail some of the old Squaresoft feel that like Final Fantasy VII had. The music is superb. They're just gorgeous, awesome games. They're the type of games that will probably not click with everybody because it's that kind of MMO style gameplay where you've got a party of characters and like the normal tank, healer, DPS classes, but you don't control all of them. It varies on the different combat systems. I would say like Xenoblade 2 is sort of the weakest, but like on the wider base, people see it that way. People love ZB1 and ZB3s a lot. I loved all of them. I thought they were super duper duper fun, crazy anime cutscenes. They're masterpieces. So yeah, thank you for the recommendation. I'll spread the good news. They won't be a fit for everybody. And Xenoblade 2 is very slow to start. I'm weird. I like Xenoblade 2 more than all the others. That's the one that most people don't like. It's like the Dark Souls 2 thing, right? Back in the day, I loved DS2 the most out of the original 3. Now DS2 gets like a lot of love that it didn't used to get. But I would recommend these, I think, Epos. You should probably just play Xenoblade 1, though, I think. Out of all, maybe Xenoblade 3 and see if you like it. But very cool games.
Yeah, that speaking of genres that I wish I don't not enjoy JRPGs. I just don't. You say it's a 60, 80-hour RPG, and I'm like, all right,
commitment.
I'll have time for that in 2030.
Yeah.
I also remember, I guess 3 is the one that came out on Switch, and it was running at like 240p, and I was just like, I can't play that, but I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, handheld mode in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, it's got points where the dynamic resolution just jumps down. But it's truly not that bad. And the whole shtick is like, in Xenoblade 2, all of the worlds that you're on are these gigantic creatures, and like they're flying or floating through this thing called the Cloud Sea. And so the maps are huge, dude. Yeah. They're so huge. But yeah, really sick games. Thank you for the comment. Next one, King of Battle 8174. In response to the demo issue for the PSN, they hid it because of the amount of spam games, like the Stroke the Dog or the Jumping Food that were clogging it up. You just have to go to the collection section to find them, and that seemed to have slowed down at least that behavior. Now the issue is all horrible AI games in the main store. So we talked about demo discs on the different platforms in the previous episode of the Dual Comm Podcast, and I just wanted to add that to the discussion. So that's good to know that they, I guess that does make sense if you can just push slop pretty easily on the demo section and not have curation. It's like what we're talking about. You still probably would benefit, like all of these platforms, from a little bit of nice, good curation, even if they farmed that out to, people beyond the organization, right?
Yeah. I think it becomes like a hydra of a problem because there's...
That's a good phrase, by the way. That's a really good... I've never heard that before. That's great.
Like, I'm imagining, like, in my ideal world, I'm like, yeah, we need some sort of editor's choice, like, feature of the games. Like, I think about, and this is not entirely related, but like in Halo 3, we had Bungie favorites to help you find cool game modes and screenshots and whatever because there was so much to sort through. That kind of thing is always necessary. Like, we need some sort of curation. And with Steam, we have the algorithmic stuff, and it does pretty well, and you have curators. On the console platforms, we don't have a lot. You talk a lot about the eShop slop on Switch that's hard to sort through sometimes. It sounds like the same thing's happening on PSN. It becomes a problem because then if Sony is the one curating this, then developers are going to get mad and fighty about picking favorites, or it's going to turn into like bribery and just turn into another advertising thing. But then if it's community votes, then that can be manipulated. So I do think some sort of, like you said, outsourcing it is probably the better way to go. I just don't. It's so hard to do any of that these days without it just being more advertising and then not true curation. So I would love to see all platforms get like followable curators, but obviously then you have to know who to follow. But I mean, that would be most like following gaming mags and stuff, is like, oh, this one group, I really like the recommendations so far, so let's do that. Or you could get recommendations, which I wish there was more resources for, but like for specific kind of games. Like, I want a curation list of games on any platform that play like the more casual Diablo lights. So the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliances, Champions of Norath, those kinds of games. Like, I'd love to find out more of those, and I know they're out there, but it's hard to find them, especially because the main competitors are like Path of Exile and like the hardcore Diablo 2 stuff, which I'm not as into. So if I could find more niche curators, I think everyone would benefit, because everyone has that like more niche thing that they really love that it's hard to find more of. And so big picture, I'd love to see more of that. And even on like, that used to be where what we went to YouTube and stuff for these days, and these days it's just not there anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah. The next comment plays directly into this, and that's why I paired them. Matt Bickerton, 7100, because we were talking about the amount of games that were getting published in the same issue. So he says, the problem isn't that there are too many games. The problem is that for some reason, everyone has decided that means they need to continue to consume as many of them as possible each year. People are rushing through games and already have one eye on what they're going to play next before they've even started something. It really comes to a head if you ever listen to the most other podcast Game of the Year shows. And hosts will regularly talk about how they have like 50, 60, or 70 games in contention for discussion that given year. It's overconsumption gone mad. I know it's partly nostalgia too, but I'm convinced part of the reason we have such strong memories for the games of our youth is because we typically only played maybe 4 or 5 new games a year. And crucially, we regularly replayed them. That's another part of the issue. Some gamers are so keen to tick off as many as they can that they'll play something once and never touch it again. It's like we've gamified gaming.
That's a good way to put it. Well, we definitely have. Like, that's part of what, like, achievement and trophy hunting just, like, ekes me out with games. And obviously, you can do it because you want the depth of the game and the challenge and whatever, and that's fine. But it does feel like a lot of people treat it as this collectathon purely to have the most game time because you are the most gamery gamer ever and whatever. And that's just not it for me. But yeah, that's a really interesting perspective to add to that discussion.
Yeah, I do feel like there's, I don't know if I've heard a podcast with like 50 or 60 games in contention, but yeah, there's always a lot, and there's always a ton to talk about. And like the Game Awards just happened. It's not even that really fun to talk about anymore. I think it's cool that Jeff puts it on, but it's also like, it's such a mishmash of like, it really is just 3 hours of marketing with awards attached to it. And it would be, I think, beneficial. Like we have a few of the industry award things, but it would be fun if there was an additional award thing that is more focused on like the awards. E3 was such a good deal because E3 could be E3 and TGA could be more of TGA.
Yeah,
and now you get both. Yeah, I know that's a totally different discussion, but I'm just saying, there's so many cool games this year. I loved Expedition 33. It's probably my game of the year, but there's a lot more that would be fun to talk about and show off and discuss.
Yeah. The problem with the Game Awards is obviously it's this one like chicken and the egg thing of like it needs funding to be a big event, but obviously it's gotten way too inflated at this point. But also like the 3 hours of marketing is basically what we want from E3, but that's not what we want from an awards show. So it's hard. You're right. That plays directly into like we just need more curation. We need more of a space to recommend games. My favorite videos right now are finding, like I'll start with No Clips 2, which is a spinoff of No Clip. They do like big gaming documentaries and stuff. They have a secondary channel where they just highlight smaller games. And usually by watching a couple of those videos, I get recommended channels that just straight up do like, here's 10 Steam demos that you missed. And it's like, whoa, I've never heard of these games. And I start building a big list and then I can filter from there. I do agree that a lot of people just want like, I mean, that's kind of what we talked about on the show this whole time. It's like we overindulge on what we play. Whereas I remember like Halo 3 coming out was this big annual, like it ate up my whole year kind of event because that's just what I was going to obsess over and replay and whatever. And I still try to do that. It's easy to assign guilt to replaying games when you have a big backlog. But to me, kind of in line with your original answers on this show earlier in the episode, like you got to remove all guilt from that. And if your vibe feels like you just want to replay this game again, do it. Like that, great. You're getting enjoyment out of the hobby that you love. And I think we're seeing the conversations come back to that. I think we're seeing momentum go back in that direction. But I also think there's nothing wrong with just having, I mean, Finite Singularity's comment earlier, like I have so many games I am excited to play, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I mean, we're living in a crazy time where the amount of stuff you can get on sale is just ludicrous, and like how many good games are being made and how accessible the tools are for developers now. We're just going through a new transition where instead of, a handful of releases that were coming out each year, not handful, but you get what I mean, in contrast with the thousands and thousands that come out this year, and they're different shapes and sizes and prices and lengths and styles of games. I
Yeah.
don't think the curation side has caught back up. And I think even as cool as some of the features Steam are, there's such huge room for improvement and then just discovery. And I think you and I have taken that kind of on. I want to do more of it in 2026 because I am continually trying to use YouTube to find cool hidden gems.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, it's really hard. The majority of the stuff that hits top of the feeds and the search stuff, it's an AI script with an AI voice covering the same 20 games that are at the top of the indie charts over and over again. And it's really tough to find the kind of total biscuit style channels
Yeah.
of somebody who isn't just watching the trailer or reading the Steam reviews. Like, they actually played the game. They actually played it and are explaining what they think about it.
Yeah.
And so I want to try and do more of that, like, this next year.
I do too. And I be the change you want to see in the world. I just mentioned that I want more super niche curation. I want to do more of that. Like, and the problem is, it's easy to say you want this and then it takes a long time to happen. But like, if I can't find it, I want to be the one making a video being like, here's a list of games you can play that are most like Champions of Norath. And like, I can just make that. It just takes me a while. Like, I have to find them and then play them, which takes months. So like, I can't just turn around and make that video tomorrow. But a big goal of mine is to make more of that kind of video. And in the meantime, if you're looking for that kind of stuff, like I said, easy rabbit hole to start down. No Clips 2, no Caps. If you start watching some of their videos, you will start getting recommended a couple of the other channels that are out there, but it's very few. And so we want to make a big effort for that. And one of the other areas where it's easy to only hear about the big games is everyone's Game of the Year roundups, because the average video you're going to watch on that is just, like you said, Expedition 33 and Arc Raiders and blah, blah, blah. I will say I have one coming probably the week after this podcast episode goes live. My Discord community's Game of the Year that BBK is also in. And while we have some, like, I'm pretty sure someone picked Expedition. I'm pretty sure someone picked Arc. But like, we always, our Game of the Year is not explicitly games that came out this year. It's games we played this year in an effort to make it more, hey, play what's fun and discover some stuff. And so we have a lot of the less talked about games featured in there that I'm very excited for. That video, like I said, should be out probably about a week after this podcast episode airs. So excited for that.
And I think as we wrap up the show, as that's the last comment, I would ask the viewers, are there channels that you like on YouTube that do just that curate and showcase really cool games? Could you leave that down in the comments below? I am on the prowl. I'm trying to find really cool stuff of people who play the game. It's not an AI script, and it's not built just purely to sit at the top of the algorithm list. It's really, it's a gamer who is trying to share really cool gamey games.
Yeah.
And like, case in point, I'm playing Just Cause 2 and Just Cause 3 a little bit on the Steam Deck. I love those games. And I'm like, these are just good gamey games. They run great. They're optimized well. They're made for fun. How can I go find other games like this that doesn't have to be a third-person shooter, And it's really difficult to then go out and be like, what is another really good gamey game, you know?
Yeah.
So, well, thanks, dude.
Thank you.
What a fun party chat.
Heck yeah. We are, like I said, this is the last one for the year. We have been doing so much podcasting this year, and it's been my favorite thing. And if you missed our 1-year anniversary of the main Dual Comm podcast, that episode is up on BBK's channel. Go check it out. Hugely appreciate your all's support on both of these podcasts this year. Like, this has been a wonderful journey for the both of us.
Massive thank you. Absolutely. And we'll do a Steam replay and a PlayStation 5 replay in a video we mentioned at the start. So Epos will probably leave that linked down below. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
And hope it's a great end of the year.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get a Dual Comm out probably before New
not.
Year's, because we're looking at the date. Maybe we'll. I don't know.
Holidays
Anyway,
get very
thanks so
busy.
much.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.